Listener's Paradise presents I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. Poem explanation, important words, theme or central idea, figures of speech, rhyme scheme. Now, let me read the poem for you. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, besides the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves besides them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. Now, let's take a pause and read the meaning of the words in the poem. The second slide has the meaning of the words in the poem. Read them carefully and note them down. Now I'll explain the poem to you. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. The poet says he wandered, he was moving around, roaming around, lonely, alone, as a cloud, similar to a cloud. It's a use of a simile that floats on high over vales and hills, just like the cloud floats high in the sky over the valleys. Vales means valleys, and the hills. Similarly, the poet was moving over the valleys and hills when, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of dancing daffodils. When all at once, all suddenly, he saw a huge number of golden daffodils. Besides the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, he saw the golden daffodils which were along the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering, tossing their heads, just dancing in the breeze. Here it's a personification, the personification of the daffodils, that they were dancing like human beings and they were really enjoying themselves in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never ending line along the margin of a bay. The daffodils were blooming in innumerable numbers like the Milky Way stars in the galaxy. Just a long band of stars which are just not countable by you in numbers. Similarly, the daffodils were stretched in a never ending line along the margin, along the side of the bay. And here he uses a hyperbole. He says, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. 10,000 at a glance, in one glance, he had not gone to count them, each one by one. Just a guess, and he says 10,000. It's a hyperbole, quite a lot number. tossing their heads in sprightly dance, vivacious, full of fun, full of energy. The daffodils were dancing along the bay. The waves besides them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. The waves in the water of the bay, which were dancing like the wonderful daffodils. The daffodils, but they is referring to the daffodils. He says, outdid the sparkling waves in glee. The daffodils just performed their dance more excellently, more beautifully than the shining, sparkling waves in the bay. In glee, in happiness, in delight, the daffodils were dancing, fluttering. He has just given it a personification. He has given it life, life to the daffodils as well as to the water. The poet could not but be gay, he says. The heart of a poet becomes happy, thrilled in such a jocund company, in such a cheerful company, full of vitality, full of happiness. When things around you are all happy, you too are happy. And then he says, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. The poet says, I gazed. I was just staring at it. I was just transfixed. I was just looking at the whole sight, that beautiful scenery, the grandeur of the daffodils all along the margin of the bay. I was just looking at it, lost in my thought as I saw them. But my I had no thought, I had no understanding what wealth the show to me had brought. I could not understand the immense wealth, the immense riches, this beautiful show, this display, this exhibition of Mother Nature, of the daffodils dancing, enjoying in the breeze. What beautiful display it was, what it brought to me, what it got for me. I did not understand. I was just gazing, I was just staring at it. And then in the last stanza, he says, for oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. He says, for oft means often, when on my couch I lie, on my sofa I am relaxing, I'm reclining, resting myself, in vacant, just blank, no thoughts in my mind, or in a pensive mood, or maybe in a sad mood I'm just resting on my sofa. At that time, they flash upon that inward eye, that beautiful picture, that beautiful sight, that beautiful scenery of the daffodils dancing by the bay, they just flash upon my inward eye. My eyes are closed physically, but inside my spirit, in my soul, I can see them dancing, fluttering, enjoying life, which is a bliss of solitude. It is a bliss, it's a blessing of solitude. Solitude is that richness of feeling which you get when you are lonely and happy with yourself and the world around you. It is a very beautiful, rich feeling of being in pleasure with the world around you. All alone, you enjoy it. And then my heart with pleasure fills. And when that beautiful sight comes into his memory, when he remembers it, he's full of joy, he's full of pleasure. He enjoys that thing, and his mind transforms and it dances with the daffodils and there he too joins the merry dance that the daffodils had been having a picture of themselves dancing there by the bay. And the poet says all that comes back to him and makes him much richer a person. Themes, central idea in the poem: loneliness and happy memories. At the start of the poem, we see the poet speaking of being lonely as he wanders alone in the countryside. After seeing the daffodils dancing beside the bay, the poet feels joy. And towards the end of the poem, the poet says that often when he lies on his couch, the memories of the daffodils comes to his mind and provides him joy. Thus, the power of imagination can transform loneliness into bliss. The second theme, man and nature in harmony. Nature is in harmony, the natural world with its landscapes full of life and vitality, throbbing for and ever active, its unpredictability, the inexplicable liveliness, the vivacity, they all affect a sensitive human spirit which is sublime. The third theme, rejection of urban living and return to nature. Through the beautiful description of the daffodils, the poet finds refuge in the country life and nature. He views nature as a source of joy, love, which is very soothing even if a person is in a urban existence. Memory makes it all alive, imagination makes it very real, and the fourth theme, which is happiness, which is also the central theme, it makes a man feel good. And with the power of imagination and memory, you find that happiness is manifest whenever the poet remembers the daffodil. These themes are so beautifully put in by the poet. They were typically as the themes of the romantic poets who dealt with nature and life. Figures of speech I have explained to you while we were discussing the poem. Uh, in this stanza 1, just note down what has been put there. On the next slide, stanza 2, the figures of speech has been given. Next, the next slide, stanza 3, figures of speech, personification, alliteration has been given. Note it. Stanza 4, the figures of speech has been given again. Just note it. The use of alliteration, personification. Then we have the rhyme, form and meter. The poem consists of 4 stanzas with 6 lines each for a total of 24 lines. The rhyme scheme is A, B, A, B, C, C. 6 lines. A, B, C, C. The poem is in iambic tetrameter, and the last 2 lines of each stanza rhymes like the end of a Shakespearean sonnet. So each stanza feels independent and self-sufficient. You get the feeling of that couplets at the end. Thank you.